You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello. Welcome to the den, dear listeners. Welcome to a cold, grey afternoon in South Bermondsey. You join me as the two teams come out for this afternoon's fixture. Middlesbrough in red, Lions of course in their dark blue, familiar colours. Today's starting 11 for Millwall, Matthias Sarkic. Back line's going to be Joe Bryan, Wes Harding, Jake Cooper, Danny Mack. In front of them, Billy Mitch, George Honeyman. Then the front three, Zian Fleming, Ryan Longman and Duncan Watmore. Leading the line today, Kevin Nisbet. Injury, unfortunately, in training yesterday for Tom Bradshaw means that our leading scorer is out of action this afternoon. The bench includes some kids, so it's a pretty thin-looking bench today, dear listeners. We're up against it. Our only hope is that Middlesbrough are shagged after that midweek fine victory over Chelsea in the EFL, the Caribou League Cup, whatever you want to call it. They've also been delayed getting to the ground, so it's actually a 3:15 kick-off this afternoon. So old school, old traditional kick-off time here at Millwall. We used to kick off 3:15 back in the days of the Surrey Docks, which is now one giant redevelopment block. Cold afternoon, wherever you're listening to this show around the globe. I hope it's a bit warmer than it is here. It's a special kind of damp English cold. There's grey skies, floodlights ablaze. But with looks like a pretty good crowd here. I think it was not quite a full house, or all tickets sold, I should have called it. There's a few seats knocking around. I'm sat in the Groupon stand full of visitors this afternoon, which is a good thing. Crowd's in fine voice though. We're on a good run of form. This would be 3 wins on the spin, 10 points from 4 fixtures. Can we make it? 13 points from 5. Wes Harding, speaking to the news at Den, it says that the squad are looking up at the playoffs. I think that's a good thing. I made a bit of a sarky remark online about having a pint of whatever Wes is having. But you've got to have some ambition in this life, dear listeners, and that can only be a good thing. Joe Edwards, speaking again very well in the week on Millwall TV, clearly has ignited the passions of the Millwall support, and that's such a relief. I don't know about you, I've actually been looking forward to coming to Millwall today, all week. And how long is it since you've really, truthfully been able to say that under the dull regime of Gary Rowett? Long while. It's going to be Mill to kick us off, attacking the away end in accordance with the dictums of the Venerable Bede, writing at Jarrow Monastery, Lindisfarne. He was on that little island, knocking out his Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, and page 1, verse 1 said that Millwall shall attack the away end in the first half. That's how long ago it goes back to. Honest to God truth, dear listeners. Away we go. Nisbet kicks us off. Early corner, Millwall. Right side. It's going to be Joe Bryan to take it. Right-sided corner. We're not even inside the first minute here, dear listeners. I was actually adjusting my watch, so I missed the move to get that corner, so you'll have to pick me up on that separately. In Australian rules football, that would have been one of those 1-point scores in the outside set of posts. Ball break forward, it's gone back to the goalkeeper. He's chasing him in, it's Kevin Nisbet. It falls back to George Honeyman. Zian Fleming now. Little flick forwards. This is Duncan Watmore. Can he take and turn? He can. Can he get a shot away? He tried to feed in Danny Mack on the overlap there. Ryan Longman, sorry. He probably could have taken a shot there, but he decided to play it wide. 2 minutes in, it's been all action by Millwall to start us off, dear listeners. Early Millwall pressure, lovely little ball inside. Billy Mitchell tried to play it back to Longman. Rolls clear. Millwall on the attack here, listeners. Crowd are loving this start. Millwall back on the attack. It's been an all-action start. Long ball from Bryan to find Longman on the right side. Ball into the box. Goalkeeper takes at the feet of Kevin Nisbet. Go, dear listeners. It's the go-goes, 5 minutes into the game. Pressing forwards. Right side of the Mill penalty area. We're about 8 minutes in now, I'd say. Ooh, there's a little chinky cross over the head of the 10, straight into the arms of Matthias Sarkic. Nice play, Millwall. This is George Honeyman now. Spreads play. Can Longman catch that? He can. Right side. Takes his man on, ball into the middle. That's taken off the head of Nisbet. That's a goal. Oh, 1-0! Joe Bryan! Volley on the edge of the penalty area. 1-0 Millwall. 10 minutes in. Fantastic goal. Fantastic take. Crowd has gone bonkers. Loose ball, really. I think crossing from the right side. Came away from Nisbet and caught on the volley by Joe Bryan. Brilliant take. Spectacular goal, dear listeners. 1-0 Millwall. 10 minutes into it. Just behind Fleming and caught on the volley by Joe Bryan. Real spectacular goal. Lovely finish. Well, excellent start by Millwall. That's on 10 minutes. It's been bright stuff from the line so far. Capped off the cherry on the cake on top of the Mr. Kipling. That lovely volley by Joe Bryan. This is now Zian Fleming on the break down the middle. He's got Nisbet overlapping on the left. He's trying to do a crossfield ball there. That was a little moment that faded away. George Honeyman's one of those players that gets under people's skin already. He's got the Boro midfielder antagonised out there. Yeah, so here I am in the Groupon stand. There's a bunch of, I think they're Germans in front of me. One they've clearly been busy in the club shop. There's a queue to get into the club shop as I walked past it about an hour ago. So clearly the club's marketing at least is working well. This is Billy Mitchell in midfield. Crossfield ball aiming for Joe Bryan. Gets a head to it. Zian. Lovely little backheel touch. Joe Bryan, that seemed for Duncan Watmore. Oh! Just put it over the goalkeeper. Beautiful move. Beautiful football. Wow. 14 minutes. It's come off the goalkeeper for a corner. I thought we put it over him. It actually must have touched him. Good save by the goalkeeper in that. There's a wonderful flowing move down the left there, dear listeners. The likes of which we haven't seen for years down here. I can't think when we saw flowing football last. We saw exciting football under Neil Harris, but it wasn't really flowing in the same way, was it? In comes the corner. There's Jake Cooper puts it onto the crossbar from the volley. Wow. I'd need to see that again. He seemed to side foot it on the volley and it seemed to flick the top of the crossbar. Yeah, the side foot volley. Wonders will never cease down here, dear listeners. Signs and wonders. Signs and wonders. Ball breaks. This is the 11 now on the right side for Middlesbrough. Little ball into the middle. That's a great save. Tarkic at the feet of the oncoming forward there. And then blasted over. That was a nice move, actually. That was a chance for Middlesbrough. Good save by Martia Sarkic. That will cement his relationship with the Cold Blow Lane end, for sure. The Germans are looking at me like I'm an English eccentric, like Professor Brainstorm speaking into my phone. This is Middlesbrough on the break, 16. He's got the 10. He's looked a dangerous player. There's a little break in the middle. Great last-ditch tackle there, Danny Mack. We do live on our... this is going to be the price of bright football, is that we leave space at the back. And I think Boro have looked a little bit tired so far, but they still obviously have got enough in their petrol tanks to get forwards as well. So they don't look a bad side going forwards. This is 29, shot from distance, wide left. The news at Den describes Middlesbrough as a decent but flawed outfit. I'd say that could probably apply to us as much as three quarters of the division, really. Possibly only Leicester would say they're not a flawed outfit in this division. Anyway, that's a beautiful ball forwards for Zian. He's looking much more physical, incidentally, dear listeners. We're ticking towards 20 minutes. Stronger on the ball. I imagine that's work that's been done on in the gym. Where else would he have done it? He might have done a few press-ups in his front room with his girlfriend watching. I don't know. State the bleeding obvious, Nick. Why don't you? It's going to be a long throw. Left side, Zian to take it. In it comes. It's a looping up high ball. Headed away. Fleming with a spectacular, not particularly effective looping kind of ball, but it's going to stay with Millwall. This is Longman to Harding. Ticking towards 21 minutes. There's a ball in that's headed up and away. Good support for the Millwall as we reach the halfway point, leading by that one goal from Joe Bryan. Crowd responding to the attacking football, though, dear listeners. Lovely ball break forward. This is Billy Mitch now. He's got Watmore through, but can he get a shot on goal? Oh, into the side netting. Nisbet was wanting in the middle of there. Watmore was probably too far forwards to really get it back. He had to shoot at too tight an angle. Referee's letting a lot go. I think Joe Bryan clattered his man, the number 11, but referees let that go. Comes towards the 25th minute. Bright game so far, entertaining game. I think probably that's the thing that's really refreshed me following Millwall, is the fact that you actually are enjoying the game. So I certainly left, but yeah, I'm enjoying following the football again. It's really refreshing. It's what it should be for. I think sometimes the football industry loses sight of the fact that this is an entertainment. Obviously, you want to play it well and win, but you are there really for entertainment purposes primarily. I think Gary Rowett, when his style was only any good whilst we won, whilst we were successful, when that failed, there was no entertainment value to save the day. Don't know if I'm explaining it very well. Lovely work, Billy Mitch. Midfield, it's his interplay with Jake Cooper, who's feeds Duncan Watmore on the surging run now. We're on 26 minutes. All overlapping. Ryan Longman, what can he do? Shot over the bar. Oh, I think Watmore wanted, I think Nisbet wanted, and Fleming wanted. Slightly wasteful there by Longman, perhaps. He probably had to take the shot on there, but it was over the bar in any event. Mill playing some beautiful one-touch football, dear listeners. How long is it since I've been able to say that sentence? Have you ever heard it on this show before? I've been doing this show for practically 10 years now. I don't think I've ever said that sentence. 30 minutes into the game, Millwall by far the better side so far. Middlesbrough have had one or two moments. That was a loose ball. I think I might have given them the commentator's curses. Is Boro now. But really bright, attractive start by Millwall. Good football. Middlesbrough pinned back a lot in this half, passing the ball backwards and forwards between the goalkeeper and their back line, trying to work a way out of it. Here they come though, having just critiqued them on the right side. This is the 11. 29, 3 inside the Mill penalty. There's a ball across, there's one each. Ball across the 6-yard box and putting it at the far post. Nicely worked goal, in fairness to them. They have had moments, but not on the same level as Millwall. So it's a bit of a shame to give away that equaliser. 38 minutes. Overall, Millwall playing the right way. We've had a lot of good football. Great taken goal to put us ahead. Disappointing to concede that goal. They passed their way through our side slightly there, but overall, I'm more than happy with the way Millwall playing. So we've just got to keep at it. More of the same for me at the moment from Millwall, please. Long ball forwards. That's found. Had the beating of Wes Harding there, the 10, but he does pick up on the left side though. Still in a moment of danger here. This is Mill just scrapping around the 16 from the D. Got Sarkic down well to get a hand to that. Nicely done. We're just looking a little bit loose at the back, dear listeners. 43 minutes. As the half closes, Middlesbrough starting to look more threatening. And since the equaliser, the Den slightly flattened out a touch, I'd say. Lovely little flick out of there from Nisbet. Finds Watmore on the left now. Gets clipped on the edge of the penalty. Referee not giving anything there. The ball had got away from him. It was an ambitious penalty shout. Ball falls to Zian now. All ball over the top. This is Duncan Watmore down the middle. Cuts inside. Can't beat his man. He tried to overcooked it. There was a moment there where I don't think he had the angle for the shot quite on it. Overall, I'd say Millwall started really, really brightly, and for the bulk of the half, I'd say we're playing some really decent football, obviously leading from that early strike by Joe O'Brien. The Den has slightly lost some of its verve with the equaliser, which is a shame, as we said earlier on. We need to recover some of that early energy for the second half. The bench is looking a little bit, packed with youngsters, so whether we can find that energy off the bench or not, I don't know, but certainly as half-time approaches, 1-1. Yellow card for George Honeyman there. A late challenge in midfield. I'd say overall, decent half of football for Millwall against a decent side. And there is the half-time whistle, dear listeners. As I say, Lions can go in really needing to recapture some of the early energy. If we can find that in the second half, there's no reason why we can't look to go forwards and take 3 points here. But we just went a little bit off the boil with the equaliser. So there we are. Half-time, Millwall 1, Middlesbrough 1.
Achtung, Millwall.
2 teams are out, dear listeners. disappointing end to the first half, really. Lions actually played some really nice football, had a great chance to go 2 ahead through Jake Cooper, which obviously clipped the crossbar when really the goal was gaping. Possibly a difficult chance for him to take, side-footed, but big opportunity. Now, late in the half, Boro have got themselves back into it, so 1-1. As Boro will kick us off for the second half. Attacking the away end, Millwall, of course, attacking a cold blow in accordance with the Venerable Bede's dictums. Millwall shall attacketh the cold blow lane end in ye second half, he wrote. Away we go. Big half of football. I think we will feel that we should have got more out of that first half. That said, it was an entertaining half of football. A bit of a slightly sour taste at the end of it. Mill keeping possession quite nicely. Honeyman playing the ball back and forth across midfield. Billy Mitch gets clipped, surely. Referee gives nothing. He's let a lot go, as I've said a few times in this show. But he sees that one, 2-man challenge on the Middlesbrough player coming forwards. Crowd not happy with that. Bloke in front of me from the, I think they're German. Look bored stiff, listeners. Looking at his phone. The ball in, that's towards Harding, headed down. This is Jake Cooper again. Not just overcooking it, unfortunately, in this bit, having the ball taken off him when there was a moment there where maybe a shot was possible, but just not fast enough. But this does give Boro the chance to break forwards. That should be taken by Danny Mack, who's playing much more centrally. I don't know if that's the plan or whether that's just the way things roll. 57 minutes, yeah. So I suppose that's the price of the Groupon stand, dear listeners. Playing a game on his phone. But anyway, paid to get in. Bought stuff at the shop, so does it matter? You tell me. Oh, it was a bad header there. This is a chance for Boro. 2-1 Boro. Loose header there by Joe Bryan. Releases the striker on an open goal in front of him. Very poor defending Millwall. Simple task for the striker to slot it in. That's an awful error by Joe Bryan. 59 minutes. Lions behind 2-1 now. Self-inflicted error. Once again, I was going to say the price of open football, but that was just a poor choice decision by an experienced player. Self-inflicted error. So it's nothing to do with open or closed or any other defensive or attacking football. It's just poor football. 62 minutes, 63 minutes. Ball across finds the man in space for Boro. This could be 3-1. That's going to go for a right-sided corner off the boot of Jake Cooper, dear listeners. Well, a third goal will mean this game really gets away from us. Obviously, all the time it's 2-1. We're in with a shout. We've played some really nice football at times and across the game, but we've also made some silly errors as well. And you can't do that at this level. So, a lot to take away from this. We've still got 64 minutes, 26 minutes to go. So too early yet to be writing any epitaphs to the match, but certainly that's as we come towards 65 minutes, that's the position that we're in. 69 minutes perhaps. Hard to see at the moment Mill clawing their way back into this. And certainly if they concede another one, then we're done for, I think. This is a right-sided corner for Middlesbrough. Ball in from the right. It's falls to the 6. Hooked wide. Ticking towards 70 minutes, dear listeners. We'll need to find something from somewhere. This game feels a little bit drifty at the moment. I don't think the bloke in front of me wants to be here, dear listeners. As he's looking at YouTube videos now. Very odd behaviour. Why is it bugging me? I'll have to do a bit of analysis on that when I get home. It's too cold for it here at the moment. It's irritating. You're keeping possession well. This is Longman now on the right side. He's got Danny Mack, hoofs it high in the air into the box. There's arms and legs all over the place. Zian blasts it straight into a red shirt, unfortunately. Boro bring it away. It was a cold and dark night in South Bermondsey. 77 minutes on the clock. We've looked a little bit flat since the goal, to be honest. Not carved out any chances worth the name, which is not the impression you would have had at the start of the game. we looked alive and electric. That's really gone off as this game's wearing down towards its conclusion. So what do we make of this game, dear listeners? Well, after a very good bulk of the first half, Millwall have rather gifted the game to Middlesbrough. Both the goals really are results of poor defending, especially the second one. And we've run out of ideas as the game's gone along, so that could be a consequence of injuries. We've got carrying quite a large casualty list at the moment, but after a bright start, it's a little bit gone flat. 6 minutes of added time. Well, there's time to get something out of the game if we can. But this is Middlesbrough on the attack. This is a 21 down by the. It's gone for a goal kick. Ticking towards last chance saloon, dear listeners. Jake Cooper's gone forwards as the target man. That shows you how desperate things are getting. Ball into the middle. It falls now to the 19. There's 3-1. That's your lot, dear listeners. 21 scored that one. Game, set and match, I'm afraid. Third goal discount because we're trying to press forwards. Jake Cooper's gone forwards. The other two goals, first goal was the passing movement, which we should have done better with. Second goal was just a gift from a very poor header by Joe Bryan. I think the thing that probably would be my main concern coming out of this game, after a bright start, a lot of good energy early on, as we ran out and it's gone very flat. So, disappointing way to finish what started out as a very exciting afternoon. The ground is emptying now, as you will expect. Relinquishing a one-goal lead to finish 3-1 down is going to also be an area of concern for Joe Edwards. That said, in his defence, in the squad's defence, we have been carrying a lot of injuries and there's not an awful lot on the bench to be able to turn this around. So, bad day at the office. There we are. Game finishes, Millwall 1, Middlesbrough 3. I think we'll call it quits there, Dennis. It's freezing cold afternoon here at the Den. Thank you for listening.
Achtung, Millwall.
I always think it's important to get the balance that I certainly won't walk into work on Monday morning with a grey cloud over my head that brings everyone down. But at the same time, we will never just be satisfied with losing games because, we played well for a spell or there's signs of progress. That's what there should be. That's what we're here to do. We're all working hard. We're very much together. And I think loads of elements of our performance is showing that, and it's showing signs of a team that can be heading in the right direction. But it is still football. And we can talk about it being fine margins or being bad luck, but you will get punished. We're playing at a high level here. So it's that fine balance. I'll show the lads what we've done well today, like we do every game. We'll look at us and we'll keep trying to build on it because it's certainly progress, but we still need to improve. And we don't want to make a habit of standing here at the Den after games with people kind of giving us a heroic round of applause, but we've lost the game. We want to win games. That's what we're here for.
That was the voice, of course, dear listeners, of Joe Edwards, head coach, Millwall's head coach, speaking in the aftermath of yesterday's disappointing 3-1 loss at home to Middlesbrough. Joining me now to chew over the traces of that disappointing loss is show regular. I'm going to call you show regular. It's Steve Lee. How you doing, Steve?
I'm very well, Nick. How are you?
I'm good, mate. We finally got our call going. I don't know about you yesterday, Steve, but I was frozen stiff, and I think the internet might have been frozen stiff today, mate. Between the pair of us, we've got it together. So good to have you. Have you warmed up yesterday from the tennis?
Well, it's another January football match, and seasonal weather.
Seasonal weather. One way to put it. I find yesterday's game quite a hard one to review again, Steve, because in a similar way to last week's fixture in the Cup with Leicester, I left the Den yesterday with a kind of strange mix of emotions because on the one hand, there's a lot of good, especially in that first half, and then it all went to pot in the second half. So it's a strange mixture. I think that's probably what Joe Edwards is talking about with not being satisfied with the good play because the bad play outweighs it. How did you find yesterday?
Well, prior to the game, I was having a pint with a couple of friends of mine, and we always sort of explain our expectations to each other. And I have to admit, I'm normally quite optimistic and go into a situation like a home game thinking, well, we've got everything to play for, and as I say, my expectations are high.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I wasn't certain,
Okay.
and I think it was down to one factor of Middlesbrough coming out of a midweek game that could have been a negative for them, where they could have come to us tired, and having put a lot of energy into a cup semi-final, albeit first leg.
Yeah, yeah.
They actually came into the game, obviously having arrived late, bit cold, because obviously we went at them very quickly.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any sign of any tiredness. That game midweek had obviously given them a lift because they'd won.
Yeah.
And Carrick had obviously said to them, let's carry on the way we are. Let's carry on, what we did on in midweek. And once they settled down and weathered the storm, which from our point of view was a good 30-minute storm, so it was, it was quite intense for that period. They weathered that storm, having only conceded crucially the one goal, and then hit us with that sucker punch just before half time. And I looked back at this morning at that goal, and I looked at our defence, who were all doing their jobs of picking up their players, but Mitchell didn't track the guy who went into the inside right channel to the near post to knock the ball across the face of the goal, and the guy coming in from the left who scored, Longman was nowhere near him. Now Longman was having a great first half, but those two lapses of concentration from two players who need to support their defenders in that situation, hit us pretty badly. And the players didn't drop their heads, and I don't think, obviously, when they go straight back into the changing room at half time, Edwards isn't going to allow them to drop their heads. But Middlesbrough showed we're in this game, and it was going to be a big challenge for us to continue that intensity in the second half.
Yeah, no, it seemed to deflate the Den generally, because I think it was a sucker punch. Looking at it again this morning, in real time, you missed some of this stuff, but I thought it was quite a well worked goal in real time. Looking it back again, I just think as you rightly identified, we gave them too much space to the winger to get into the box, pretty much with the freedom of South Bermondsey, I think the commentary described it as. And then to find the man also unmarked at the far post, who put it away pretty easily in the end. It's a defensive error, really, and I think for each of the goals, I'm going to discount the third one yesterday because we were pushing forwards a little bit.
Yeah.
But certainly the crucial first and second goals were gifted to Middlesbrough, which is, it's got to be a real frustration for Joe Edwards. There was a lot of good in that first third. I think they scored on 38, so they had a couple of moments, but there was a lot of good from Millwall, a lot of good content there, some really, really nice flowing football, Stevens. That all goes out the window, doesn't it, when you start making fundamental Sunday morning park errors, in front of goal.
Well, I think Edwards has made the comment, and quite rightly so. You can dominate the game and have good passages in the game, but unless you make the breakthroughs and score goals, it amounts to nothing. Middlesbrough are a good side. And like a lot of the Championship sides, they've invested well. They've got some good players. They've got that kid who was on loan at Plymouth Argyle. They snatched it. I think he was on loan from Villa to Argyle.
Right. They got some decent players,
and they picked him up for a couple of million very quickly in the window. That shows their ambition. And we've been, since the window opened, pretty quiet, which is seemingly the Millwall way. But
quiet is a good way to put it. Comatose might be another way to put it. Given that the part of the problem yesterday, Steve, I think there was a lot of good stuff in there, and some of the moves in the first half, I don't know if I'm over exaggerating this, and do feel free to leap in if I get too outrageous, but some of the moves and some of the passing play, some of the one-touch football, was some of the best I've seen in a long time at the Den. In fact, I'm trying to think when we played that style last, and I'm like me, go back a long way, and I'm going back to the Bruce Rioch era, early 90s, when we played that kind of one-touch movement passing football, because otherwise we've always been known as a pretty direct side, one
Yeah.
way and the other, which suits me in many respects. But some of the moves were beautiful to watch yesterday. So there's clearly a lot going on, but you need a squad to be able to do that because when you run out of energy, it's a high intensity style, high energy style. And we just ran out of puff. Well, we ran out of energy, didn't we? The petrol ran out in the second half a little bit from the tank, and we just were a little bit void of ideas. And the bench is where the problem lies because there's nothing much on there to come in to change it. A lot of kids and players that are coming back off of injury, Steve. And the forgotten man, Alan Campbell. I don't know what he's. I don't know what his purpose is really. Head steward. He might be a head steward in future, maybe.
Well, he doesn't lack experience, so you would have thought bringing him on might have been a wise move. But whether he doesn't fit the style or the pattern, I don't know. But there's two things I like to raise from the points you've just made. The fast flowing football, I agree. I haven't seen it for quite a while, and a number of the players are really up for it. They want to contribute to it, and they benefit from it. Honeyman being a prime example. I'm going to be controversial here. It don't suit Fleming. Fleming has not got the movement, and he certainly hasn't got the pace for us to get benefit from him playing that style of football.
Does he have the football brain for it? I mean, I take your point about pace, Steve. I thought he was a little bit more physical yesterday, which is good to see. But does he have the football brain? Because we've tended to see him as a bit of a star in Millwall terms, but I do wonder sometimes whether he's quite as good as we make him out to be. He's a decent player. That's exactly he's as good as we think he is.
That's exactly the way I feel. There are times, and I was at the Bristol City game on New Year, and there were times in that game, again, he was hiding. Not making himself available. Yesterday, when that ball was moving swiftly forward, he wasn't. He was involved in a couple of passages of it, but there were times where he wasn't. And the others, it was Honeyman, Watmore, and Nesbitt who were linking up, and Fleming wasn't contributing at all. And the second half, I don't know what he was doing in the second half, and why he wasn't substituted on 60 minutes, let alone 70. But again,
just lack of alternatives.
You're right. No, that's the other point. You're right. The lack of alternatives on the bench make it difficult, and we are relying on him. Over relying on him, I think is probably the best way of putting it.
It was good to see both Brooknall and Cuffy. He was a lone player, listeners. Don't forget he's a lone player, so he goes home at the end of the season. But also Casper Denor coming back from injury. It's good to see him, but they're both going to be rusty. To expect an immediate impact in their first game back with just a few minutes to go is probably a bit setting too high a bar. Ramon Esse we aren't seeing much of him. A lot of us were thinking that maybe he was going to be the next big thing at the Den, but he's not. He don't seem to be getting the game time. And I would have thought that yesterday, where we looked a bit bereft of imagination in the second half, we're behind. We're looking to create, and we weren't creating. Steve, we didn't see him. So again, another player. I'm just wondering whether the football staff at Den whether they don't see him as quite the talent that we all think he is. Another interesting one there. So I just think the bench illustrates a lot, doesn't it? I mean, I don't even know the kid Lawson. I don't even know his first name. Grant. I don't even know his first name. Nino Adam Malaki. But this when you've got kids coming in on the bench, it just says that the squad is paper thin now with injuries and suspensions.
Coming back to Esse, I mean, there is a mystery about what's happening surrounding him. And I know from some of your previous podcasts, there was a suggestion that he might be on his.
I'm not saying that again. I got slaughtered for it online.
And that's been debated amongst people I go to the game with. Is he a long-term fixture, or is he just an asset that's there to be sold? But when he came on yesterday, I thought his instructions were to drag the defenders out of the way so Norton Cuffy could make those runs down the right-hand flank. And there were times where he stood there a bit static, couple of times he did go inside and drag the players away, but Norton Cuffy wasn't in a position then to either receive the ball or take the ball into that scenario. So there was certainly a lack of understanding there, and it certainly wasn't the old Matt Lawrence, Paul Ifill understanding. If you
No.
But there was another opportunity where he made again a run inside, where he was looking for the ball, and someone I can't remember who was actually on the ball at the time, but they didn't pick up his run. But it showed he has got the brain, he has got the ability to create openings. But he hasn't played enough, and so we're looking at almost a couple of shadowy appearances to judge him over, and that's probably not fair.
Not fair on the boy. No, that's true. It's true.
But Edwards must have his motives for not playing him. He must have.
He must have in a game where we're looking pretty not mundane. I mean, we weren't creating much in the second half, and maybe he thought we could just recreate what we were doing in the first half, which was high energy. I think just we ran out of steam on in that second period, didn't we? Yeah. A player. I mean, the game was summed up by one player in many ways. That player was Joe Bryan, scorer of a fantastic goal. Yeah. I mean, that was a really, really difficult chance to put away. He put it away spectacularly in the first half. Yeah. So there's Joe Bryan. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here, Steve, isn't it? Oh, there's Dr. Jekyll, and then Mr. Hyde appeared for the second goal, which I looked at it again this morning. I still can't quite see what he was thinking to do. I think he was trying to head it clear, but it was just lovely layoff, really, for the Middlesbrough forward to go for and slam home for 2-1, a total gift of a goal.
A player of his experience and the fact that he played Premiership football. To make a mistake like that, because composure is a part of his game. He doesn't panic on the ball, but I think he panicked there, and as you say, gifted it to the Isaiah Jones, and the guy thought it was Christmas again. He just landed on his toe, said thank you very much, and bang. But no, Joe Bryan, it was the good, the bad, and the ugly in some respects.
Absolutely. One player epitomised the whole game, really, listeners. But there we are. The rest of the half, I thought we faded, as we've said a few times already, as the half wore along. The third goal was a consequence of pressing forwards. That was deep into added time. Yeah. I think we sent Jake Cooper forwards as makeshift forward, which is the game's up when that moment arrives. Any fixture.
Yeah,
but it was nicely put away again as well.
It was, but that tiredness issue, that's the first time I've seen this in recent games, because the one thing that impressed me most at Bristol City, they didn't tire at all. The energy levels throughout the whole of that game, and that was after a succession of tough games, having played the Friday night in a very tough game against Norwich, and then, to play again on the following Monday because of the bank holiday circumstances. They didn't tire in that game. They were still full of energy. But like yesterday, the legs went, and then, as you've quite rightly pointed out, the factor of nothing on the bench, or not enough decent replacements.
Not enough. Not enough on the bench.
Counts.
Yeah.
And if Edwards is looking at that, he's only going to delay bringing anybody on if he don't think they can make any impact. And comes back to your Alan Campbell point. That's going to be something that either can we negotiate with Luton? Do they want him back? Probably not.
Probably not.
Because he hasn't starred in any games or in anything since he's been with us. So
he hasn't.
That's not going to motivate Luton to do anything there, unless they hit a series of injuries in the next week or so, and then they have to call him back because they need replacements themselves. But
he's been a very lacklustre player. I mean, as a loney, the moments we've seen him, he hasn't really made an impact, and maybe that speaks volumes. Maybe we can send him down to Steve Morrison down at Sutton there, Steve, whether he wants to wants him there or not. I don't know. A few players, as ever at Millwall, we seem to love to have a scapegoat, and a few players have been catching it a little bit on the net. I've noticed Danny Mack. I thought he actually played quite well yesterday. I think he's an improving player, and when Joe Edwards and Andy Myers arrived, Steve, there was obviously the coaching side has been widely touted as their strong point. And I actually do think that we're starting to see the benefits of that on Danny Mack. I think he's an improving player. I didn't think he had a bad game yesterday, but some people must watch a different version of the match because they're slaughtering him online.
No, I do agree. He has been he is benefiting from their influence, and don't forget yesterday there was times when he was almost one of a back three. Now he hasn't played that role on many occasions, to my memory.
No.
And the way the balance worked with Brian was really pushing up high in that first half. I mean he hugged that left hand side and was mostly in their half. So Danny Mack really had to play tight alongside Harding and Cooper, and that I thought he handled it quite well. And certainly when they scored their first goal, he was tracking his player. His player wasn't going to get that pass across the face of goal, so he was doing his defensive duties correctly. As I say, I think it was Longman at the far post that was lacking there.
But
no, Danny Mack doesn't deserve some of the stick he's receiving. If he continues to improve like this, he's going to be an asset for us.
Kevin Nisbet is another one that divides opinion. I'm going to be as diplomatic as I possibly can, Steve. He divides opinion. I quite like him, but I do wonder if sometimes we're trying to search for the right style of play to suit Kevin Nisbet, because I would have loved Tom Bradshaw to have been out, especially in that second half. He would just ran and ran and run and made something happen. That's not Kevin Nisbet's game. A few moves, especially in our kind of purple patch in the first half, there were balls. The quality of the crossing maybe could have been a bit better. We weren't finding Nisbet. How do you see him, Steve? Because he's teetering on the edge of love and hate at the Den at the moment, isn't he? Because he's clearly wanting more in terms of service, but I'm not sure how much more he's going to be able to create without getting involved more himself.
I genuinely believe there's a decent player in him, and I think it's for me it's a bit reminiscent of when Lee Gregory stepped up and joined us. It took him a good season to adapt to from what he came from non-league football into League One where we were. And I know I'm talking about Scottish Premiership to Championship, and that could be controversial insofar as there isn't a difference. It's a Scottish Premiership or is a decent level of football. It's a different type of football, and Nisbet has had to adjust his game, and he has got a couple of goals. And although, as someone said on Radio London yesterday, he tends to get them in the dog end of games when it doesn't really matter or it hasn't counted. But there are a couple of times in the first half he won certainly 2 or 3 headers where he put Joe Bryan through on one occasion,
I
and Longman on another, and he made those challenges. Certainly, as far as the defenders were concerned, he made it his, and they were big lumps, their centre halves. And then there was an occasion in the second half where Longman, who was predominantly playing on the left towards the end of the second half, he came inside. I think it was after a free kick, and he tried to pick Nisbet out at the far post, and it was just the quality of the cross wasn't quite right. But Nisbet had picked a lovely position to sneak a goal if the ball had been delivered accurately enough. So there is he's got to work on his game to get these energy levels up to Championship standard. And he's not Tom Bradshaw. We can't pretend he's a Tom Bradshaw type player. He's a bit more silky. But if we can adapt our game sufficiently enough, and he can benefit from those, the pace of the ball being brought forward, we could have a good striker there who could get us, the goals that we desperately need.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him start scoring and for some of these chances to come to pass. I do agree there's a player in there. He's just got to. It's almost like he's got to ignite slightly. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. Tom Bradshaw, you mentioned, obviously out injured. That's a big loss.
It's a blow.
Steve. big loss. Thankfully, we've got some points under our belt. I was just trying to work out how many 18 points to reach the 50-point relegation target. I mean, I think we are fortunate in that the bottom three do look to be some way off of the pace now. I had the table on here a moment ago. There they are. So Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, and Rotherham are some way clear at the bottom. So, we don't need that many more wins to really start to think in terms of mid-table respectability for the season, which is probably not a bad target. The thinness of the squad is going to be the thing that probably prevents any outside rail playoff run. Do you agree, or
I do.
do you still think it's on?
Well, QPR away next week is going to be a difficult one,
Big game.
depending on who we've got fit and available. If Amarku makes a sudden recovery, I'd be a bit more content, because I think even if he's on the bench, that gives us an option.
Pace and power,
But I think what I heard from the interview on Radio London with Edwards last night, and then they were discussing about the transfer window. It could be now that the club's hand is forced to make some crucial decisions about recruitment and replacements, and a forward with Bradshaw being out potentially for 4 weeks, possibly longer. We might have to get someone in. It ain't going to be Kiefer Moore. I can't see that. And there's someone said there's a queue of Championship clubs after him. But I think we've got to maybe look at one or two players that may be scoring well enough, like the Notts County guy. I'm not sure of his name. We might have to sort of invest and take a chance on one or two players like that.
Outsiders, As you say, there's going to be plenty of competition for these people, though.
Absolutely right.
Every club in the division is searching for that magic diamond in the rough,
Yeah. And of course, there's the ongoing debate about what's happening regarding Cresswell. And obviously, there was the Gilchrist thing that came into the mix. Gilchrist, again, was on the bench for Chelsea yesterday. So while he continues to make the match day squad at Chelsea, I don't think they're going to let him go out on loan. And Cresswell doesn't seem to be, how can we put it, popular at Leeds, because they keep buying centre backs, and they don't seem to want to give him a chance. But of course, he's going to cost money. And
yes, do we have the dough? That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
Historically, the answer to that is no, but I suppose that's going to be a test for the new ownership, James Berylson. We'll see. One other player before we close out, Steve. I just wanted to mention Billy Mitchell, another player that gets a lot of criticism online. I thought he had a good game yesterday, Billy. You can always say he's a defensive-minded midfielder rather than the forward, and the quality of some aspects of his game could be a lot better. I mean, he can't shoot for toffee. I think I can probably shoot as well as Billy, and that is saying something. Believe me.
Yeah.
But I thought he played well yesterday, and I thought it was one of his better games in recent times, Billy.
Yeah, I think, like Danny Mack, he may benefit from the influence of Edwards and Myers.
Yeah, agreed.
And equally, under Rowett, it was always sideways or backwards.
Backwards, crab football. Yeah,
absolutely. He was getting more like David Livermore every time he played. I think I now see what Edwards and Myers are trying to do is encourage him to look for that forward pass, not release the ball too quickly like the hot potato it was often under Rowett with him, and just buy himself a bit more time to pick a pass, and if he continues to do that, there's going to be a bit of competition when the others come fit. Now, coming back to next Saturday, we've got Saville back available, which is let's hope he don't get injured in training in the week.
Don't curse him.
But he's back next week. And Denori, I don't think is going to start a game quickly. I think he'll be in the squad.
Ease him back in.
Play him off the bench a couple of times. And obviously we don't know the situation regarding Honeyman going off yesterday.
No. I mean, every time anyone gets a knock on the field now, I don't know about you, but your pulse starts racing. Nisbet pulled up at one point, but then managed to walk it off.
Yep.
So we are down to the bare bones now, Steve. That's the thing.
But
no,
you're
right.
Billy Mitchell, I think is has taken the challenge, and fair play to him. He's giving it a good go, and that's all I would expect from him anyway, because that's the type of bloke he is.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Billy. I thought we had a good game yesterday. We've mentioned QPR away next week, huge game. I just want to close us, if I may, Steve. I'll give a shout out to everyone that turned out yesterday, because it was a freezing cold day down there yesterday. I don't know about you, Steve, but I thought my hands were like Captain Scott at the Antarctic towards the end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an easy day to travel.
No,
number of railway lines out of action, tunnels closed. So, it was 16,000 tickets sold. I think that's probably the better way to put it. But everyone that turned out yesterday, well done, because the atmosphere, particularly in the first half, when the play was upbeat, was pretty good. And more of that really.
Can I just throw in a comment there? When it's freezing cold, and you're watching the side prior to Joe Edwards, that were, should we say, grinding out a performance, it's colder.
That's for sure.
When the side are up for it, and they're you can see that they're playing their hearts out and giving 100%, you don't feel so cold because you're wrapped up in the game.
That's very true. That's Gary Rowett cold versus Joe Edwards cold. I mean, just we'll close with Joe Edwards actually, Steve, because clearly there's a project to be undertaken that implies time. I think he's managed to got himself out of that initial poor run of form. Few wins. We're hopefully with enough points in the bank now to not to be too worried at this stage about relegation. We do need to carry on playing the right way. But I was looking forward to going to Millwall yesterday, and B, at the point you just made, actually, I was enjoying the football. I mean, it went a bit off the rails, and we all know how it finished. But I was enjoying myself. I actually left having been entertained, at least for part of the game, and that's so refreshing. I mean, I can't be alone in feeling that way. I know the result didn't go our way, but it's so you can see what we're trying to do. You can see the aim of the Joe Edwards project now, and I've got to say the football at times in that first half was really rewarding.
Yeah, my dad in his later years used to say, I can tolerate Millwall losing sometimes. He said, as long as they've given 100% and given value to the fans. He said, it's when they turn it in. He said that's when I'm critical, and I'm becoming more like that as I get older as well.
I think I'm joining your dad in his opinions there, Steve. So yeah, no, fair play. Well done, Joe Edwards, for everything you're doing, because I think it's quite striking how when you read people's comments online and listening to those around in the den yesterday, when you kind of pick up the comments, there's a general supportiveness for what he's trying to do. Long may that continue. So well done, Joe Edwards.
Yeah,
Steve, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me. We got there in the end, mate, this Sunday morning. Big thank you, Steve Lee. Thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thank you very much, Nick, and all good wishes for the rest of the season.
Achtung, Millwall.